Senpai. Here we discuss anything and everything concerning the Black nerd community. We're talking music, movies, comic books, celebrity news, and maybe even politics. Wherever you're listening from, sub to hear more from Senpai.
What is easily becoming my favorite segment on my podcast, Notice Me Senpai, where I shout out black people, places, things, anything and almost everything in the black nerd diaspora that I feel like needs a shout out. What I'm shouting out is a project. The project is called Pritty, Pritty. Pretty with an I, not a E. This film was surrounded by a bunch of black, amazingly talented people, directors, actors, producers. It was originally slated to be a live action film. Keith Miller is the writer on that project. It was originally a novel that they adapted for the film. Then COVID hit, and like a lot of other projects, they had to pivot in a different direction. And the direction that they went in was to make this live action film into an animated film. You can find it on YouTube, Pritty, and you can see interviews from the writer and director. Writer again is Keith Miller, director being Terrence Day. It is a beautiful film. The animation style is very reminiscent of like old school anime. Beautiful background, fluid characters. Um, Reading from an interview that they did, Miller was stated as saying, "I wanted to make Moonlight," referencing the 2016 Oscar Best Picture winner. The number one thing that we talked about was I'm down for the idea of animating the story, but how can we ensure that people feel what this is? Because oftentimes the animated series and stuff that people follow are often comfortably within that realistic realm. That is not necessarily the case for Pritty, Pritty. This film, which was written by Miller nearly a decade before, tells a coming of age story of Jay, a black queer boy growing up in Savannah in the early 2000s. The narrative centers around Jay as he learns to step out of his comfort zone with the help of a charming neighborhood boy, overcoming his fears of the quote unquote deep end. For Miller, the story was important to tell regardless of the format because there aren't many coming of age stories, much less stories in general centered around black queer male characters. Um, yeah, so I feel like this story is an important story that needs to be told. Um, Typically speaking, the coming of age stories, whether it be in animation, live action, um, narration, such as books or something like that, you rarely ever see um, POCs as the centered around the person that is discovering themselves that summer, the person that is trying to figure out who they are and how they belong within the world that the story is created around. Now, if you add on top of that um, gay, then the stories become almost non-existent for those people. They are mentioned in different stories, but they're never the main character, if you will. If you want to support this, they have a Patreon as well as a Kickstarter. And there's different levels to donate. I want to say like the first level is like only $15 and you get like a pretty wallpaper. So I think that's really cool. I myself will be donating. Um, Something else that he was quoted as saying, Miller, the writer, I'm hoping to see a world that they want to be a part of. And by seeing the world they want to be a part of it and become a world they want to make it. Speaking on, in context of that particular quote, speaking on black gay boys and girls. I think this is a really amazing project, and I can't wait to see the finished project. All that they have out right now is like some rough draft stuff, and then they have like I want to say like a 60-second trailer or something like that. Um, but for sure, Senpai notices you. Pretty with an I, Prtty. I've recently come across a black led independent comic book publishing company, Godhood. They can be found at www.godhood.com, Godhood. They also have a Patreon where you can go there, pledge a certain amount of money, get exclusives to the comic books that they have coming out, as well as some behind the scenes things that are available for you there. This brainchild of a project is led and driven by black talent and black excellence. On their website, they have a submission area where artists can go submit their writing, submit their artwork, submit their lining and coloring. And it's an amazing place to be if you go there, honestly. There's several titles already released, Sharpshooter and Mega Woman. And in August of this year, they will be releasing The Protagonist. The artwork on all of their comics that I've seen, just strictly going based off of the covers, are beautiful. You can tell that the people that they have working there really care about what it is that they're doing. I'm talking comparable to some of your DCs, some of your Marvels, actually all of them, comparable to the professional realm, if you will, the mainstream realm of comic book covers that I've seen. It's pretty much on the money. I would suggest you guys go and visit that website and buy a comic because I know that I am.